So, good morning everyone. Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay naman, no? Okay, very good. So, for the past weeks, we have been in the community part of our um, course. And we have discussed the primary healthcare, the primary care, and now we will be going into what's happening here in the Philippines, here in the Philippine healthcare system. So as you can see here, I think these are photos from um, the pandemic time. Lalo na yung nandito sa taas, middle, and yung baba is the situation in the government hospital sa mga buntis naman, sa mga nanganak. So as you can see here, grabe no. If you think our situation in Osman is bad, what more itong mga situation noon nung time ng pandemic. So it's very bad. Sobrang punong-puno. It's very congested and it will really make you wonder paano na survive ng country natin yung pandemic, paano naka-survive yung mga tao, those who were lucky enough to survive during the pandemic sa ganitong situation, lalo na those who got admitted at the government hospitals. So this will be the outline for our lecture today. So first is yung health systems models. Second is the Philippine healthcare system. And a quick brush through on the universal healthcare because we're going to have a separate session for that. So first, ano nga ba ang isang health system? So by definition, your health system are all actors, institutions, resources that undertake health actions, where a health action is one where the primary intent is to improve health. So that includes not just the hospitals under the DOH, it also includes your city health offices, your different NGOs, your LGU, CHO. Osman is also part of it, even you as students in PL Osman College of Medicine, you are part of our health system already. So it's important to note that they are composed of independent parts. There are organizations, money, people that comprise the health system. And pwede siyang public, pwedeng private for profit, and private for non-profit. Private, not for profit, sorry. So maraming functions ang ating health system. So it has three main functions, which is yung provision of health services, resource generation, and stewardship. So first, sa provision of health services, this means we provide access to a comprehensive range of services. Everything from prevention and diagnosis to treatment and rehab. It's very important na these services are accessible. The services are comprehensive. And there should be equity, there should be equity and inclusivity within the health system. Dapat lahat makikinabang, hindi lang yung merong kaya. Next is your resource generation. This is about raising the funds naman necessary for health initiatives. But syempre, it's more than just financing. It's about protecting individuals and families from financial burden, um, ng illness and disability. Kasi nga, di ba, usually, the middle class they're generally stable. Stable ang buhay nila until someone in the family um or or the breadwinner, someone in the family gets sick. Dun nagkakaroon ng um, heavy burden. Minsan nagkakaroon ng um, a lot of financial losses. Minsan they get they go bankrupt just because someone in the family got sick. So it's very important na yung health system natin is ready, hopefully, to cater to all of its citizen, 'di ba? Para naman hindi hindi basta nagkakaroon lang ng isang may sakit is bankrupt na agad yung pamilya. Next is your stewardship. So it's about governing and regulating the health system effectively. Effectively. It's not just about the rules and oversight. Kasama dyan yung pag-ensure that our health system is structured so that the public health will genuinely improve. So, how do we improve the health of the population naman? So, of course, it's through appropriate governance and regulation. So, that's very important. They help us to promote good health among the communities and syempre ensure that everyone has access to healthcare. Stewardship also involves carrying out public health functions. This includes surveillance, which helps us get informed about the health trends, kung ano yung um, mga emerging diseases, um, the operation of the public health laboratories kasama dyan, and Food and Drug Administration, of course. So, that's very important sa function ng ating health system para syempre madadiagnose natin early, makakapag-respond early. And for Food and Drug Administration naman, dapat syempre alam natin na good quality ang ating mga binibigay na products or consumables sa mga tao. Next. So now let's go to the health system models naman. So for your health system models, so we're going to explore two different models here. So that's your regionalized or tiered model and dispersed or free-flowing model. So these models represent different ways of organizing healthcare delivery to ensure syempre that we have effective healthcare. First, let's talk about yung regionalized or tiered model. We will go into it separately later, but as a as a quick summary, you remember the different levels of care. So dito yun pumapasok. Um, this is important to promote coordinated care across different levels. On the other hand naman, we have your dispersed or free-flowing model. So dito, as you can see, there's more flexibility. Patients have different access points and it's really up to them kung saan sila lalapit na una. Yeah, multiple options that can cater to the different needs that they have. So let's go first to the regionalized or tiered model. So in this model, patients pass through different levels of care. So alam niyo na yun, yung primary care, secondary care, and tertiary care. Um, this model is exemplified by the British NHS. Ang pinakaunang point of contact nila dito are the generalists. They assess the patients whether they have to be referred to a secondary or tertiary care or they can manage it sa primary care mismo. So this approach is not just about patient care. So this is a strategic way to make sure that the healthcare cost is managed para hindi ma-exhaust yung healthcare system mo. So, di ba yun yung sinasabi na natin, discuss na natin last week, na the main reason why we're trying to make a strong primary care is for us to be able to be more efficient, mas maging balance ng healthcare costs natin para hindi lahat ng burden ay pumapasok sa secondary care and tertiary care. So first, let's go to primary care. So when you're at the primary care level, it's within the locality lang. This is the domain of your general practitioners, like the jack of all trades. These general practitioners, at least this is the model in NHS, they often work in small to medium-sized groups, and they provide ambulatory care. Their focus here is to provide accessible and continuous care, and they serve just a small amount of patients. As you can see, it's just 5,000 to 50,000. So bakit ang konti kung malaki ang primary care practice? So marami kang primary care facilities that caters to those in their vicinity. So they are just assigned a group of a number of patients per doctor in a group, per group practice, ganon. So it's made that way because mas na, they get to focus more on the people in their area, and they get to collaborate with other professionals within the same area. They do postpartum visits, vaccination. They have a tracking system dun sa mga taong kilala nila within their community. That's why maliit ang population catchment nito. Versus sa yung secondary care. So, dito naman, medyo mas specialized na siya. So, nandun naman yung mga IM, PEDS, neuropsych, OB-GYN, your GS doctors. So, these are hospital-based clinics na ni-refer from the primary care. So, after consultation initially, dito sa secondary care, they can be routed back to their primary care providers for the ongoing care. Kaya very important dito ang collaborative efforts ng dalawang practice ng primary care and secondary care. Kasi ang ideal dito sa kanila is kunwari nakita nila siya doon sa hospital-based clinic or na-admit, dapat ibabalik nila doon sa primary care para matutukan yung pasyente pagbalik nila doon sa area nila. Kasi generally, your secondary care facilities is a bit farther from the community wherein your patient lives. Kaya mas marami na ang catchment area, ang catchment population nito. Kasi kumbaga, kung ito yung mga primary care mo, merong isang secondary care facility that can cater to these different areas, different primary care centers. Hindi siya si secondary care is malapit sa ano mo, hindi siya malapit sa community mo. Unlike syempre dito sa atin na your Osman is just a stone throw away from your area. So usually sa kanila parang syempre may travel pa before you get to the district dun sa kanilang pinaka secondary care or district hospital. Okay? And for the tertiary care naman, ito mas marami na silang population na kinikater. Kasi konti lang ang tertiary care facilities. And they cater to over 500,000 to 5 million. where they have na yung mga cardiac surgeons, immunologists, pediatric hematologists, yung mga very specialized na cases na. And yung mga nakukuha nilang cases are those cases na hindi na kayang i-handle ng primary and secondary care. And dito sa mga facilities nito, dito lang nakalagay yung mga advanced medical interventions and equipment nila. Hindi na binababa yun sa secondary care and primary care where they do not have the specialist that can um, make good use of the equipment, of the technology that they need. So, syempre, dun sa primary and secondary care natin, we just have the usual na mga laboratories, diagnostics. Pero yung kunwari, yung mga um, equipment where you can do your um, mga cabbage, mga PCI, wala na sila doon sa facilities nila. Kasi, ano nga ba naman gagawin ng gamit ng primary care facility sa mga ano mo, sa mga operations mo, sa mga, kunwari for your equipment for Coro Anjo. Hindi naman na siya ginagawa doon. Alright, so remember pa rin yung different levels of care that we have discussed before. And ito yung pinaka-application niya sa some different models of care. So, hindi lang pala siya, para kasing before, we were looking at it at the perspective of these are the patients and where do we place them. Ngayon, we look at it na, ay, ito pala yung mga different types of facilities. Ganito pala ang catchment nila. And this reflects po yung health systems na at this point. Next naman is your dispersed or free-flowing model. So, ito naman ang pinaka-example dito is the health system in the US. And it's pretty much adapted also by our country. Wherein, the users of service, yung mga tao nga can enter any level of care. They can choose to go to a community hospital. Minsan, they can go to a primary care center or private clinic. Pwede din silang diretso sa Osmon. Pwede silang pumunta sa HP. Pwede silang pumunta sa Hilot. So, it's really up to them na kung saan. Kasi walang restriction. As long as you can pay for it. In the US daw, there's no rigid secondary and tertiary care boundaries. And they are more focused there on specialized care. So, dito naman sa atin, or at least even in other countries where in most urban areas, maraming hospitals are ang nagko-compete with each other to perform your open heart surgeries, transplant, radiotherapy. A lot of them can do high risk of OB procedures also. So, imbes na parang pyramid like this, ang structure niya is parang more of a diamond shape. So, parang konti ang primary care mo, marami kang secondary care, tapos konti din yun nandun sa apex or yung sa tertiary care mo. So, ayun. In terms of the influences of the health system naman, dito natin makikita kung gaano ba binavalue ng society ang ating healthcare, di ba? So, it's important na makita natin to na health is a right. Hindi siya generally dapat a product or commodity. And yun nga yung ini-explain natin or dapat maintindihan ng ating mga leaders na generally in health, wala kang ROI. Because health is an expense. Hindi siya product na binebenta natin in general eh. Pero yun nga, since dito nga sa ating Pilipinas, dito sa ating country, parang hindi mo masabi kung ano ba tayo? Are we a tiered model? Or is it dispersed or a free-flowing model? Kasi parang sa public sector, generally ang gusto natin is regionalized siya or tiered. Pero ang nangyayari naman sa private sector, it's dispersed. Kasi nga, they have the paying power. So, of course, they get to choose where they want to go. So, sige. Let's begin with the private sector. So, sabi nga natin dito, it's dispersed in nature. So, pwedeng your clinics can be for profit or meron din namang mga non-profit providers, but it's largely driven by your market forces. Here, the services are paid directly at the point of service, and essentially, you get what you pay for. On the other side naman, you have your public sector, which is regionalized, and it's largely tax-based naman. So it primarily relies on what the city earns, and it's what they use to give financial provisions doon sa hospitals and sa city health offices natin, ganun. And your people generally get your services for free at the point of service. Ideally, there are there have been ano din naman, there have been some socialized user charges introduced, but syempre the core idea is to make it accessible for everyone. Okay? So, public sector, it's tiered or regionalized. Sa private sector, it's dispersed. So, paano ba tayo umabot sa ganito dito sa Philippines? Ano bang nangyari? Bakit hindi natin na-promote ang health system like that of the UK na na regionalized siya? So, dito kasi sa atin, before, ang dito ang this is years back before 1990s, I think. Everything was under the DOH. So your Secretary of Health manages all your hospitals, from your health stations to the health centers, to your city hospitals, to the provincial hospitals, regional hospitals. So it's all under the Secretary of Health. However, in 1991, there's this thing, there's this Republic Act that they passed, which is the 7160, wherein the concept of devolution was introduced to the Philippine health system. Ang rationale nila is that the people in the local level are the ones who are familiar with what's going on in the local level. And so, they should have some degree of autonomy or some degree of supervision in running their health system. So, binaba na ang management of health to the provinces, cities, and municipalities. So all of these would have primary, secondary, and tertiary care services, including um, diagnostics, your medical supplies and equipment. Sila na yung nagpopondo nun. Pero sa provincial level, um, it's under the province's leadership. And doon pa lang, nagbibigay sila ng maintenance for your provincial hospitals, district health offices, district hospitals, and Medicare and municipal hospitals. Sa city naman, yung mga city hospitals, health centers nila within their area. And sa municipalities naman, yung mga RHUs and barangay health stations ang kinikater nila. They also have operations of infirmaries in there. And all of these areas should ideally have their own personnel. They should have their own records pa rin. And these functions are all devolved into the cities. Pero, mind you, it's not just for health ang ginawang devolution noong 1991. Even the basic services for different functions such as yung mga agrarian reform, agriculture, social services, dinevolve na nila ito dito sa provinces and municipalities. So, naging ganito na ang itsura ng ating org structure sa DOH. Si DOH pa rin provides national policies, they give plans, regulatory standards, and guidelines, including tertiary and specialized services. Tertiary na lang si DOH. Naging more on capacity building na lang sila para na nagbibigay ng more on sa governance. They set goals, they give priorities for health for the year, they do monitoring, technical support for the local government units. Pero the ones who provide health services directly, ito na yung mga LGUs na, yung mga provinces na. So your mayors, your provincial governors, they became the big boss of their health system. And all of this sudden, the doctors, the medical directors and nurses started reporting na to the governors and mayors. And it has been like this since then, since the 71 RA 7160. For example, kahit na ang ating ospital, si Osmond ay tinatawag nating ospital ng mundo dahil siya ay ang puntahan ng mga pasyente from different areas. We catch patients from, not just from Muntinlupa, we even get some patients from Cavite, San Pedro, Parañaque, Las Piñas, no? So they have their own city LGU hospitals. Pero they still go to Osmon. Kasi kahit na ano naman, hindi naman tayo nagtatanggi ng patient. Pero in reality, Osmon is not a hospital of the DOH. It is a hospital of the city government of Muntinlupa. And ang funding natin, ang boss natin is ang city government of Muntinlupa. Ang big boss natin or the administrator is the mayor. So, naging maganda ba ang devolution for us? Is it good or bad? We can say that it's double-edged. Kasi, ang pinaka-pros nito is that, yun nga, part of the rationale eh. If you're on the local, you know what's happening, you should be able to counterfeit, to tailor fit your health system to what you need. Pero, ang bad part naman ito is that instead of like before na homogeneous ang mga services na nabibigay ng DOH to all the different hospitals, to the different health stations that they have. Ngayon, medyo naging heterogeneous na. Kasi, it depends on who's leading. It depends on the situation in your city, kung ito ba ay mayaman na syudad or not. And syempre dun sa priorities ng leadership. So it's good if you have a good local health executive who has a good perspective on health. They can prioritize it, they can actually work for the health system. Pero for those who do not have that, yung mga medyo mahirap na provinces, doon nagkakaproblema. Minsan din hindi sila prepared. Hindi din, aminin na natin um, there are leaders who run not knowing that they have to be involved in this as well. So merong large learning curve for the local chief executives. This was before pa, which made it hard for them. Kaya nagkaroon din talaga ng heterogeneity and fragmentation sa mga services na nabibigay sa tao. So, good thing naman din, merong progressive leaders who have real developmental perspective. So, we can say that we are kind of bit lucky compared to the others. Kasi nga, meron tayong Osmon eh. Like, despite its imperfection and all the kakulangan and all the bad things that we see in the social media, we're still a lot luckier than the other cities. Kasi we have here yung mga we have the hospital itself. We have trainings in there. Hindi tayo nauubusan ng doktor mostly. Mostly yun na, hindi ko naman sinasabing hindi tayo naubusan kasi meron talagang time na kulang na din talaga ang doctors natin doon. But we also have here in our city kasi the care card. Parang they can get mga subsidies, they get benefits. Though it's something that the citizens pay for naman, but at least it's being used kahit papano. And these benefits would have not been possible if we were still in the centralized setup. But possible na siya kasi nga naka-tailor fit na yung services and benefits based on the needs of your community, which is yung dito sa atin sa Muntik. So ano naman ang mga health functions that's retained under the DOH? First, the DOH is responsible for the formulation, development of your national health policies, plans, and programs. This sets the foundation for a unified health direction across the country. They ensure equity, access, and quality in health services. And this means everyone, regardless of your location or background, they should have quality health care. Second, the formulation of your national health goals, standards, and guidelines. So this is essential for steering the programs towards success and are monitored and evaluated rigorously. They also have technical authority in disease prevention and control and ensures that we have expert guidance in mitigating health crises. So that's important. And they also syempre monitor and evaluate ano bang ginagawa ng mga LGUs para sa health. So they act as a resource center and they help in capacity building of your local units. So in the past year, I think that was 2024. So since di ba nagsa-start na yung since kasama tayo dun sa healthcare system ng ating city. So kasama si Osmon, kasama ang primary care which is essentially the family med part, public health unit. Kasama siya dun sa mga meetings with the DOH. And they constantly ask what can they do? Ano ang best practices? They give us the best practices from the other cities as well. And they do evaluation kung ano ba ang nangyayari na sa mga program na ini-implement nila within the city. And it's a continuous effort naman na we always have um we always have we will always get to have an audience with the DOH, with the LGUs as well, within the LGU. So also, ayan, so they have health advocacies, health information services. Nandiyan din ang regulatory licensing and accreditation functions to ensure that there's quality health services. So lahat sila dumadaan ng DOH. Your small laboratories, your um, your small, even your smallest laboratories, they have to go through the DOH first. Kasi meron silang mga required na materials. Dapat hindi dapat this wall should be about this much for a certain lab. Dapat you have this number of um, workforce. Kasi kung hindi mo siya ma-achieve, or kung wala kang medtech doon sa laboratory mo, if you don't have that, hindi mo makukuha yung license mo. And that's one way for them to make sure that your facility is at par with the other facilities na tinatayo. So they also have technical, administrative, logistics, and financial support services. So we constantly get mga equipment na from DOH. It's not always funding that we get. Although parang may nakita ko sa news na Osman was given a fund ng DOH in 2017, but I think itong mga nakaraan, it was more of equipment that they provide na. Because that's part of their program. And they also serve as a direct provider for specific programs. Kaya meron tayong mga hypertension month, dengue prevention week, mga ganun. There's a DOH calendar for that na nagpo-focus sila on a certain advocacy for specific programs per month. And even within the DOH kasi, meron silang parang mga task force na binubuo para sa emerging diseases that needs to be controlled. Right? So next is your private health sector naman. So yun na yung public health sector. That's your government sector. Now, sa private. So sa private, madali lang siya. It's more of hindi na natin masyadong inaano yan. Hindi na masyadong napapakilaman ng private sector kasi medyo kanya-kanya sila ng under regulatory guidance pa rin by the DOH. Pero it's really up to them on how they provide their services. Pwede itong for profit, pwedeng non-profit. You have clinics, hospitals, health insurance, health product providers. There are research and academic institutions within the private sector that help drive innovation and ensure that our healthcare practices remain current and effective. And other stakeholders include naman our individuals or families and communities. So mostly, they are consumers of healthcare, but syempre, they should be partners in the in in healthcare. Kasi nga, di ba, parang we have been talking about the community participation. That's very important in maintaining a good public health and a good health system. So now, for the healthcare facilities. So this one, so nakakatuwa makita ito that this is your Philippine Heart Center. This is yes, I think it has been renovated since, and maganda yung facilities nila. They have up to date. They have really nice wards, and they cater to specialized cases. However, we also still have these itong mga healthcare facilities na to. Hindi ko na tinignan kung saan ba ito. Pero as you can see, there are so many beds in one ward. Dito, there's a Christmas tree ng IV line. Yung mga parents and your patients are sitting where whereas dapat nakakapahinga sila, nakaupo yung mga pasyente, buhat ng magulang. This is not too far from what's happening here in our hospital. Though hindi naman ganito ka-congested, pero syempre your ER can only accommodate how many beds. The others, they are we borrow the we borrow lang the stretcher from the ambulance kung magpapahiram sila. And nakalagay yun doon. And those patients naman that are stable, na kailangan na ng antibiotic, naka parang classroom setup sila na naka-wheelchair. So, it's a bit sad. It's really sad that it's still happening. But, yun kasi, talagang so far, we are just really trying to make do with what we have in our hospital. But, sa private facilities naman, that is not a hotel. It's a hospital. So, this is this is TMC. This is TMC. I'm not saying that it's not good for them to have that, ha. I'm just saying na there's a huge disparity talaga between what you can get from private facility versus that of a government facility. Pero kasi nga, di ba, you get what you pay for. So the people with spending power go here instead. So this is what I have actually seen before during my clerkship and internship, because nung sa amin, ang clerkship and internship is divided in here in TMC, and then we have OSMAC slash QMMC, PCMC. So, half government, half private, yun napuntahan namin. And parang ramdam mo yung difference eh. Pero, sa totoo, I enjoyed doing rotations more in the government facilities. Because dun kasi mas mas nagiging hands-on yung experience mo. Kasi nga, hindi din talaga kaya ng doctors and nurses on their own. So, the trainees get to really interact with patients more. Dito medyo careful sila when letting the trainees interact with their patients sa private facilities. So, ayan. So, from what we have seen earlier, many local health facilities are still struggling, still with inadequate equipment and staffing. So, it's a very critical issue kasi nga it affects the level of care that the patients receive. Second, there's still congestion in the regional and national hospitals. Ang ang alam lang na puntahan talaga ng mga tao is when they have health concerns sa provinces is PGH. Yun pa rin talaga. And this overcrowding can lead to longer wait times, which is something that not all patients will understand. But syempre, it's a given din naman na it can compromise healthcare talaga, the patient care. And lastly, there's still uneven distribution of health facilities across the public and private sectors. And this disparity impacts the health access. And we can see that it's still not at par with the different private facilities, which leads inefficiencies in healthcare. So nakakalungkot that if even if it's still so many years na before devolution, kasing edad ko na pala yung devolution. Nakaka 34 pa 35 years na this year. Pero ganun pa rin yung ano natin, ganun pa rin ang situation ng ating health system. So, ayun. So, at this point naman, let's go to what they're trying to achieve since then, which is the Universal Healthcare Act of 2019. So, this was pahapyaw. This is pahapyaw lang. This is your UHC. So, it was passed in 2019, and its main goal is to provide accessible healthcare for all Filipinos. And ang pinaka main model that they want to use here is yung regionalized or tiered model na versus yung dispersed model na that we are used to. So it's a given that there's still push and pull here. There's still a lot of improvements that can be done for this. Kasi parang when they passed this, the people weren't ready. Because the people are used to pretty much doing what they want and going to where they want. And syempre, there's also some resistance from the doctors kasi nga, kung gagawin mong ma-primary care ang services mo, paano yung mga specialists? So, it's still an ongoing thing. It's still an ongoing issue. It's still an ongoing process. And I think, although ni-implement na siya, not everyone, not all Filipinos are familiar enough with the concept of this, of your UHC. So, wala pala akong video nun sa UHC natin. But we have a whole session for your universal healthcare in the coming days naman. So, okay. So, we will save UHC for the topic na mismo, for the UHC discussion day na, para hindi na siya redundant din. Pero, it suffice to know that we are doing something about our fragmented healthcare system. And this is one of the ways that we are, that the government is trying to do para ma-improve ang healthcare system to make it more accessible and equitable for all the Filipinos. Okay? So, are there any questions po so far? regarding our lecture on the Philippine healthcare system? Wala na po. Okay. Nalungkot